And let's get started. I guess if you could make a little bit of introduction about yourself, it would be great, especially the stuff that you do not have over your channel, or especially the stuff that you probably would like to share, that it is not easy to, let's say, find such a information about you. I do not mean the secret one, but rather the intriguing one.
Okay, all right. So I have been playing chess for 17 years. I started when I was 8 years old. I wanted to start earlier, but my parents didn't let me, unfortunately. Yes, I mean, they of course would have let me if they knew what the future holds, but they just thought chess is for adults, so that's why I started a little bit later. And so I started chess because it was interesting and sounded super fun, but then I got my first coach, of course, and they started working harder. I had my lessons, and I always wanted to be in the top, at least in the girls section in Hungary. And I was always amazed by the Polgar sisters, and it was my dream a little bit to be like them, because I think you were there also when I mentioned that. I was also told as a child that you will be the next Judith Polgar and so on, and we will get back to this subject a little bit later. So yes, I worked hard, and I won a few Hungarian youth chess championships back in the day. And once when I peaked, actually it was really hard because I was at the university when I really peaked, and when I had an even more serious coach, let's just say, and we worked a lot together, like weekly, twice 2 hours, which is a sort of not the best, of course, but it's more than normally would.
It's optimal, right?
Yes,
it's optimal.
Yes, right. And of course, I had him at the end of high school, and that's when we started working. And I learned a lot from him, and that's when I stagnated on 2000 for a long time. And when I worked with him, I peaked at 2266. Which was maybe a little bit too high for my knowledge back in the day, but maybe not that high back then. And unfortunately, once I started university, it was really hard to manage both university and chess, and it was really tiring to study both. And also have a little free time, of course, and enjoy life a little bit. And now that I have more time, unfortunately, my coach is sick, so we can't really work together anymore. And I'm a little bit not proud, but I fear that it's really hard to find such a coach as he was to me. And yes. Now I am at streaming and coaching, of course.
Excellent. Thank you very much, because we'll be talking about coaching, learning, streaming, creating the content, and in the sense of psychology, in the sense of practical pieces of advice, the mistakes, and at the end we'll be talking about Polgar sisters phenomena as well. Therefore, we'll be, let's say, talking about a lot of the, let's say, threads that are pretty much interesting to our viewers. And yes. I would like to, let's say, ask you about your biggest, let's say, performance and your biggest achievement. Performance in the sense, for example, the rating that you, let's say, get into the highest level. Maybe it is ELO, maybe it's some like different one, depends on you. And the, let's say, the score, some like having the medal over the, something like the youth championship and so on that you mentioned. If you could just make a little bit about it.
Okay. Well, I think my biggest achievement is that I have a woman grandmaster norm and I have a woman international master norm as well. And here's another sad story. I would have my third norm because I scored another woman grandmaster norm when I was younger. And I was like 10 years ago, maybe. But the FIDE doesn't accept that because there was no international arbiter at that tournament. So yeah, because it is
Really?
it is required. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. So it is something that hurts a little bit because with the rating and with the norms, I could be a woman international master now, but now I only have the woman FIDE master title, which is also good, of course. But of course,
Only in quotation marks, right? A lot of people, I do not
yes.
mean women, but especially men, are obsessed about chess. And every time I try to get them into the Earth, onto the planet Earth, because they start thinking like that. Thinker teacher, what should I do to get into the FIDE master title? Thinker teacher asks, what's your rating? 1,200. How much time do you want to invest into reaching FIDE master? Maybe a week, maximum 2 weeks. Right? That's why I'll try to bring them into the planet Earth. And if anybody says that he is or she is just such a title, I am just always trying to, let's say, put it into the, let's say, normal statement, if I can say that, because otherwise people have the impression that titles are something like salt, right? That you can just buy the title, you do not need to work. It's something like you're going onto the tournament, just making 2 good scores, and after that you're a FIDE master, international master, or even grandmaster. It doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't. It's years of hard work and sacrifice, really. So it's not something that can happen overnight, to be honest. So yes, you are right. And it's good to be realistic. Both ways. So instead of saying I am only a woman FIDE master, or I am only an IM or something, it's something actually to have a title. And of course, it's not so easy to get these titles. There is one more thing I wanted to mention as an achievement. I was invited twice to the Olympic camp with the ladies in the Hungarian female players team as a backup. So I mean, they wanted to along with the chess PI. I'm sure you know her too.
Yes, Bianca Havanec.
Yes. She was there too, and it was. This is how the Hungarian Chess Federation wanted to encourage us to work more and maybe take a place of an older girl older that they are there longer time. So that is something I would also consider as a really good achievement, being invited there.
Yes, I guess it's a pretty nice, because this way you can see how far you got already, right? It's not something like that I am, let's say, 100 or 200 in the country, but rather I'm at the top of the top, because most often the time the strongest team are invited into, let's say, the Olympiad, right? Olympic team. Therefore, it's a biggest achievement, if I can say that in a let's say different perspective. From time to time, I will be asking you the questions from the chat. Is that okay?
What questions?
Questions from the chat, from my chat.
Oh, sure.
I'll be asking them from time to time. Therefore, we'll be having something like a very broad conversation. But from time to time, the questions, I guess, would be pretty important, especially as they are interesting as well. The first one is, of course, the international master, very much popular one, Andras Toth, if you know him, and if you think that London system is good for beginners.
Well, I normally think that it is better for the beginners to play more open systems because in the very beginning, once you start, I think what matters is that you don't blunder your pieces in one or two, and you can find your opponent's blunders. And well, if you get into openings that are closed or more strategical rather than tactical, then you have to know strategies, which I think for very beginner level that might not be the best to learn at first, because yeah, we can make the best plan possible, but if we blunder something again in one or two, then that is not really worth it. So I always encourage beginners to learn more open systems.
Therefore, London is not that much, let's say, opening that you should start with when you're a beginner. I just am at the same position, because even many other players, for example, one of the founder of Carolina Chess Center,
Yes.
Peter Giannatos, just mentioned the same, because I recently am listening the podcast, Perpetual Chess podcast, and he just mentioned the same argument, and I am at the same position. Even if the positions that we have, if we are playing the London system, is so-called of safe one, you cannot be crushed some like in 10 moves, but you do not learn different structures, right?
Yes.
You do not learn about the, let's say, different pawn configurations. You do not learn about various ideas related to the initiative, opening the center, sacrificing the pieces, right?
Yes, right. I agree.
Okay, and what about Andras Toth? Because this guy is the recently, let's say, pretty much popular. He just have probably already recorded some chessable courses. In the meantime, he is streaming, and he is probably writing the book with Judith Polgar, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. I saw that they were working together, but I haven't really looked into their work yet.
But did you meet him? Did you collaborate with him? Maybe do you know his?
I know him. I mean, as a streamer, that I heard about him, and I believe I follow him as well on Twitch, but we never really talked, I believe. Only that I know he has, I believe, Hungarian origins, but he does not speak Hungarian.
Yeah, and probably he is in not Australia, but I'm not sure what country, but he's originally from Hungary, but he emigrated to either Australia or Austria. I'm not sure, probably Australia.
Australia, I think, yes.
Australia, right? Because I just listened to the podcast with him as well. And another question that probably is one of the, I would say, the holy grail of question for any players, especially such a, let's say, a player as you, and player, the coach and psychologist that we'll be talking a little bit later. What attracts you at chess the most? What makes you so, let's say, happy, some like elated, something like having some like inner feelings that you can, let's say, grow, you can have a challenge and so on at chess? What brings you into chess? The attention and some like all of you, because you said that you needed to devote a lot of the energy, a lot of the time, a lot of the, let's say, effort to get into the level that you are already. That what is in chess to you that you love chess that much?
Well, probably first of all is that it's an intellectual game, and people always like to look smart, I suppose, and well, chess is probably one of the best ways, or well, at least to common people who don't play chess, they are always like, oh, you must be very smart if you play chess. But besides that, I believe it was also the community that I made my friends at chess camps and in the chess teams, and it was also it was a motivational factor because I had to study and keep up with them in order to see them and have fun with them. That was also one of them, one of the reasons. And well, generally, I do enjoy intellectual games. Also, chat might not know this, but I'm also a Sudoku fan.
Oh, excellent.
Yes. And of course, chess fan as well. And yes, so I do enjoy puzzles and these games, the fight of the minds. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. And now let's get started into another thread, because we are just touching a little bit of these threads. What about learning chess, and what about coaching chess or teaching chess in general? Because I would like to ask you about your experience that you were taught by other coaches, and now you're the coach to other students, right? And how
Right.
does it feel like? What are the differences? And what were your expectations? Some like that you started coaching, and now what are the, let's say, biggest challenges, or maybe the biggest success that we already, let's say, experienced? Just let us know about learning and teaching in the sense of coaching as well.
Okay. Where to start?
You can start with learning. For example, what is the easiest for you to learn at chess? What is the most difficult to you to learn at chess? Maybe back then, maybe right now. It's up to you.
Okay. Well, I believe back then, when I was a beginner, it was really hard to do the puzzles, actually, because back then I did not like puzzles. That changed since then, and it was really hard. And I always imagined chess as a fight of the minds, basically, and that if you are smart, then you are also probably good at chess. But that's not really the case. If you are smart, that helps you in chess, but you also have to do a lot of learning. And actually, a few days ago, I had this conversation with one of my students. He says that he felt really stupid once he lost the game against someone, because that means that he's dumber than the opponent. But that's not the case, because it's experience, it's how much you work put into it, and well, of course, talent is also important, but I would say that work and hard work is even more important. And yeah, so I thought the same thing, and I feel it was easy for me to learn about new ideas and strategies and creativity, finding interesting plans. My main problem in learning is theory, opening theory mostly, and endgame theory. I am better at endgame theory now, but with openings I still struggle, and it's a little bit hard, because once you hear about the strategy, you can build it into your game better, and you can use it more times, and it doesn't require you to remember 100%. You can just know that, okay, there was this idea, and then you can put it together later for yourself. But theory is different, because you can memorize the theory, 10, 15 moves, maybe sometimes even 20. Oh my goodness. and then if you don't play that theory for a while, then that's gone. You have to relearn it. And I once learned my theory, but then I had a bigger break because of university, and me going to Erasmus as well, to another country, and I didn't really have the time for chess, and all my theory was gone. And I remember that the ideas after the opening, but I tend to mess it up still, because if in that move that's not what happens, then if I don't play this, then I can't get into that position, and therefore I am almost in a completely new position. So probably that's what I struggle with the most in learning. Yes, and about teaching. Well, I try to help my students pick theory, to find something that they might like if they ask me. But I personally don't like to teach them openings and give them big databases, because first of all, the ones I have wasn't made by me, and I don't want to use those because I just don't feel like it's ethical. And therefore we focus more on middle game strategy and end games. And but if they have a question in openings, then of course we look it up together, and I show them how they can learn, and I tell them a few resources where they can learn. But yeah, this is a little bit of a struggle. And another thing in teaching is when the student has an idea about how to learn and what to learn. And once I sorry, I just chat is supporting me. Meanwhile, thank you very much, everyone. And so they have an idea what to learn and how to learn, and sometimes those are a little bit weird for me because I never really learned that way. And for example, writing down openings on a paper, and I don't think that helps. And I try to tell them that I would use the board, because using your eyes is probably that will work better rather than just memorizing the moves. That okay, this happens, that, and okay, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and they try to remember. I think it's better to involve your eyes. And yeah, so they have a kind of idea, and once I tell them, then tell them otherwise. Sometimes I hear the doubt in their voice. For example, once I had this conversation with a student that I showed them how to look up in the database if they made a mistake in the opening. And it's really useful because then you don't have to sit down and memorize for hours what to learn, but you can just check it either on Lichess or chess.com. That is also a source that I also use myself. And they can see what to do instead of that mistake. And my student was like, yes, but this will never happen in a game. So why would I do that? And I'm like, well, with this mentality, we could say that studying in chess is not really worth it, because every position will be different. It's not about memorizing that exact line, but learning about ideas, and yeah, so that can be that can be challenging sometimes.
Okay, thank you very much. And I must confess that I have very similar struggles with the openings. I am most often laughing about myself, and I'll try to tell my students or my viewers that I am probably one of the hardest players to prepare about the opening part, because even me does not know. Do not know what opening, what system, and what move order I am going to play, because I am not a professional. Therefore, I am free to play anything what I wish, and I play sometimes the let's say stuff that I feel the most. For example, if I feel some like a little bit of let's say aggressive, I can play sharp stuff. If I feel a little bit upset or some like tired, I'll play a little bit more solid. And if I want to, let's say, experiment and see how my opponent is going to let's say untangle the pieces or some like breakthrough, I'm just playing super boring systems, except the London. Except the London, right? Because it's some like different stuff. And whenever you just mentioned about the students, I have pretty much similar, let's say, ideas that I'll try to show them the ideas. And recently, after 25 years of, let's say, figuring out this stuff, probably I came over the idea that generating the ideas is the biggest challenge for the players below 2000. Because even if they can calculate, even if they can learn some openings, some tactics and some endgames, they may have the problems with generating the ideas. And if they cannot generate the idea, they would be having a lot of difficulties to get from the position A to B from the series of the moves that they completely do not understand before the moves are covered to them after the game or after the position is solved. That's why it is one of the idea, generating the ideas to see how the ideas can fit into the position, if you can confirm that or reject them, right?
Right.
And what about, let's say, the style of coaching that you, let's say, nowadays prefer, and what are the pillars, some like the, let's say, important factors that you that your coaching style based upon? For example, you have 4 or 5 stuff that you are always trying to implement into your teaching style or coaching style. What are they, if any, and if you can elaborate a little bit more?
Sure. When I have my lessons, I always like to make it interactive and crack a few jokes meanwhile, because I believe that you can learn better if you are having fun and if you are involved also. Because I remember back in the day when I had a few teachers who just taught what they had to, and then the lesson was over, and then you couldn't say what you wanted or ask questions, but it was just him speaking, and he was considered a really good coach, which is interesting, by the way. And so interactivity, making it a little bit more entertaining. What I also like to do is have a few warm-up puzzles or positions that that just makes them focus on chess more, because these lessons are online, and I don't know what happens before, I don't know what happens after, and maybe the student, I don't know, was completely elsewhere in mind, and they come and they don't even know what is chess at the moment, just of course saying it in a funny way, and with a few puzzles they also feel more confident and they can get back. And of course, I like to, once we get to the position, I want them to speak mostly, and once they make a mistake, I correct them, or if they are lost and they don't know how to proceed, then I tell them a few steps that they can use or what can help them. And of course, at the end of the lesson, I like to go through the main points that we learned that day, so they remember. And well, of course, I like to give homework to them that they can do by themselves. And probably that's what I would say. That's how I like to work. And one thing, what I also do, it's not always good for the teacher, but instead of just having a strict schedule that at 60 minutes we all stop where we are, I like to finish what we learned. If it's 10 minutes more, okay. If it's 15 minutes more, okay. But I like to finish what we started, because if we can't, then it's really hard to continue from there a week later, because the student will be lost a little bit. So yes, so this is my answer.
Thank you very much. It's very, very, very nice, and I really like it, because it shows that you are passionate about coaching, and in the meantime you are trying various methods, and probably you're looking so-called a holy grail, right? The most, let's say, efficient one that probably nobody has ever seen or used, but everybody is looking for this, let's say, method or way of teaching. But anyway, we are probably the perfectionist, right? The higher you get, you need to be a little bit of perfectionist, even if
Yes.
sometimes it's not that much efficient. And when we started, let's say, rolling the topic about the learning and teaching and some kind of coaching, probably a good idea of continuation would be to, let's say, talk about the biggest mistakes of the, let's say, players. I mean, especially the players from Leach's rating, let's say 1200 up to 1700, because it's one of the biggest group, at least at my audience. And if you would address some of the, let's say, problems and possible solutions, how to overcome these mistakes or these problems, that they can do it a little bit more smoother, as Maurice Ashley says about Magnus.
Well, one of the biggest mistakes are the blunders. I would say the few moves blunders, and I think they can overcome this if they really do a lot of easy puzzles. And what I mean by easy puzzles is that contains the main motifs, discover check, mating ones, a lot of mating ones, mating twos, back rank checkmates. So all these forks and so on, to go through these, because I feel like beginner players don't believe I encountered a lot of people who started to watch Grandmaster games already and started and wanted to understand what happened in the Grandmaster game, but he had 600 rating on chess.com. And at that level, that's not the point. What you need to do as a beginner, not to blunder your pieces in one or two, and see what your opponent left behind, and you can capture those pieces. Or
especially so-called simple threats, right? Simple threats.
Yes. That is definitely one of the biggest mistakes. So in the beginning, we don't have to overcomplicate things. It's just enough to capture our opponent's pieces and not to blunder ours. And after that, we can talk about strategies and weak pieces, weak pawns, weaknesses, and so on. And another big mistake I see is that I get questions all the time. Oh, I just started playing chess. What opening should I play? And how? And I know this is the French and this is the Scandinavian. I don't know. And they know the opening names, and it implies that they learned a lot of openings. But it's not needed so much. Of course, know the principles, how to develop, and know that one system that you picked. But you don't have to know it in the Grandmaster level. Even I don't know my opening so deeply. I know how to bring my pieces out in that certain opening and what plan to pick afterwards. Of course, I can't say this to Magnus Carlsen or Hikari, because then they will get into a worse position if they don't know how to what move order they have to use, because if they mess it up, then that can be fatal for them. But on lower levels, I mean, yes, maybe it's possible that someone will beat you in a gambit. Okay, then check what that gambit is about and how you can avoid it. And that can be also helpful. And again, you don't spend a lot of time on openings. You know how you check how you lost, what was the mistake, if it was a gambit, and know how to avoid it. But if you know your system, you really don't have to know the move order that much, because yes, maybe you will get to a little bit worse position because your opponent is an opening genius. But if they put so much energy into openings, that means that you can maybe catch them in the middle game or in the end game, because then the focus is not there anymore. Because what is the meaning to getting into a beautiful position after the opening if you don't know how to finish it afterwards? And yes, that is one. And another one, I believe we are getting a little bit lazy as chess players because online it is possible to play against anyone, even if in a lunch break you can play a 1 minute game or 3 minutes game, and people it seems like people are in a hurry. And when I present this idea that play longer games, maybe sign up in a club and play a 15 minutes game, 30 minutes game. Ooh, what is that? That's so boring. There is no action. And
so boring.
yeah, yes, of course, and because and this bullet and blitz, I admit it's fun. I love them, but with blitz and bullet, it's really hard to improve because you neglect calculation, evaluation. Because who has time for evaluation and calculation in those positions? So yeah, that is another mistake. And well, I would encourage the viewers to play longer games, which I should also follow. Actually,
but I guess there is a little bit explanation about this, and I'll just provide it if you allow.
Yeah, sure,
okay?
Of course.
Because I am just at the chess world for 25 years already. Yes, I am a dinosaur, I must admit. And I have been following the changes, and I am seeing that the recent, let's say 5 years, especially 5 years, are something like the trend that all of the stuff are trying to be more optimized and done faster. No matter what you do, most often people want to do it 5 to 10 times faster than 20 years ago. It's nothing wrong as long as it is the quality work, at least from my perspective, right? And let's say 25 years ago, when I started out playing chess, the let's say normal type of game, if I can say that normal at the statistical sense, was the game 30 plus 0. 30 minutes for the player. And for example, when I was younger, I played against one of my friends, and we played, for example, 3 to 4 such games when we started out, let's say at 6 p.m. and we ended up close to midnight, right? Because
Yes.
It was a little bit, let's say, longer session. But anyway, these were the games that we didn't have the electronic let's say clocks, and we didn't have the internet but then some like the nowadays. And another trend is that on the stream, I mean especially on the stream, it's very difficult to show the game that lasts for 4 hours, right? Because it is just one game. There are no quick movement of the pieces, and probably if there is just one game, 99% of the viewers would just switch into another channel, right? And therefore we need to a little bit of switch into, let's say, providing entertainment, providing education, and providing some kind of interaction. And for example, from my perspective, whenever I am playing the faster games, because previously I just played 3+2, I'll inform my viewers that these are the tests. These are the tests. These are not real games in a, let's say, deeper sense. These are the tests. I am testing how much I can calculate, how much I can predict the let's line, how much I can develop the pieces if the position is some like new to me. And it is some like testing that I extract the most important conclusions, and based on them try to apply them in longer time control games.
Yes, that makes sense. Indeed. Yes, and when you said that in the past you played with someone and there were no clocks, and you started at 6 p.m. and ended up around midnight, I can totally relate to that, because when I was as a child, I remember not playing online because back then it wasn't a thing. I'm an old lady, so or at least I don't remember. Or there was one site I played, but it's not even a site now, I think. Anyways, and I remember going to the park, and I challenged someone, one of the players who was there. He said yes. And we started playing, and the game lasted 2-3 hours, and we didn't have clocks, nothing. It wasn't about flagging your opponent or getting into advantage that way. Just normal, calm chess, just moving our pieces and focusing on that, enjoying the process. So yes, and I can agree with you what you said, that Yeah, it would be really dull. Like one of my viewers says now that watching a longer game online, because if I have to calculate seriously, then I need to be silent. And if I want to do my own thing on the board, then I need to be silent and
You need to be maximally focused, right? Focus completely.
right. Yes, and if I have to talk meanwhile, then I lose the focus. So something will be sacrificed. It's either chat or the game.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a hard choice. So yes.
Yeah, I agree. And I just I was asked during the let's say qualifications into the World Chess Fisher Random Chess when I played before our interview. I was asked if I am playing worse if I didn't stream. And I said yes. It is sometimes it depends on the time control, the opponents, and so on. Some like a few factors. But in my case, whenever the time control is pretty short and the opponents are challenging, it's some like 200 points, because normally I'm some like 22, 2300 depending on the rating. But if I am playing, let's say, and streaming and trying to interact with chat, it's something like 200 points lower. And they say something like, wow. How is that? Another streamer is just playing the same and very stronger, right? But they probably do not know that you need to have some like a lot of experience, and you need to have the focus that you can switch comfortably without making the blunders, right?
Yes, true. And actually, there is a funny story, or not so funny, actually. Yesterday I had a viewer come to my stream, and I was losing against a 700 rated player because I blundered something, because I had to switch my chat and game, and he came to my stream. Well, your rating, you play very badly. And I'm like, what? These people don't even know that how hard it is to focus on the game and have a conversation meanwhile and read chat. And half of the time is about reading chat. And and if I don't read chat, yes, of course I can do that. But my chat is really chatty, let's just say. Love everyone. And they write a book for me until I finish. So I have to keep up during the game. Otherwise, it's really hard. And yes, I'm not sure about the rating. How much it matters if I'm streaming or playing by myself. Let's just say that I tend to make more mistakes and more blunders once.
But yes. if we just, let's say, get a little bit deeper into this topic, because I am super curious, if you let's say play completely focused without any distractions, any streaming, any other let's say obligations, and if we just take it into the percentage, right? Some like 100% of focus, dedication, and effort, right? Some like the performance. How much would you extract on that? Some like decreased when you are just streaming? Is it some like 3%, 5%, maybe 10%? What is your estimation with the perfect play if you would be, let's say, completely focused? What do you think? Of course, what's your estimation?
Sorry, I don't quite understand. If
maybe one more time, no problem.
Yes.
Okay, I'll explain it. For example, if we have 100%, let's say, energy of focus into dedication into chess, you are playing the perfect conditions.
Yes,
right? And then you are just doing the same experiment, but now you are streaming. How much you need to take up from this 100%? That if you are streaming and trying to interact with the chat, because some of the energy, right, mental energy, you need to devote into the chat.
Yes.
Trying if somebody is not spamming, trying if somebody is not behaving badly, trying if somebody is asking very difficult question and stuff like that, right?
Yes,
some of the energy, because we'll be talking in psychology in a moment. Some of the energy needs to take into the interaction with the chat and managing the stream overall. and how much it is from your perspective if you're playing the games and trying to interact with the chat, how much it is some like decreased from the 100%?
For me, it's much more than 10%.
Much more?
Yes, yes. I would say it's maybe 50% or 40% at least. Yeah, I'm not I'm not really good at this. It's something I probably need to improve in. But if I am streaming, I like to focus on more the streaming and chatting, and the game is just something that we do while we chat and discuss topics. So for me, that's definitely bad. If there is, for example, Title Tuesday or Arena Kings, these main events, then I would say chat probably takes around 20%, because then there I like to focus on my games. It could be still better. I could do this better. But at this point, I believe I'm more afraid to stream these events, and I just like to do it off the stream because I like to focus on the games without chat.
Yeah, competitive nature is out of you, right?
Yes.
Competitive nature, right?
Yes.
If I want to show myself at the title Tuesdays or any other competitions that you think that this is serious enough, I would like to be pretty much focused and try not to be distracted by anything, right? Because then you can show your, let's say, real skills, if I can say that, and the performance that you are on actual shape. And in the meantime, because I'm a little bit, let's say, smiling, because when you mentioned this, let's say, accident that you blundered the PC and one of the viewers just pop up into the chat that said just he lost, he won against, let's say, you, and he was some like 700 rated. Most often the time I'll try to extend it, right? Because it's like over and Thinker Teacher comes into the room and Thinker Teacher say, I will just continue a little bit and you will see some like a new, let's say, perspective. what I want to see at your level, because you are a woman FIDE master, right?
Yes.
At your level, if you would be playing seriously, let's say 5+3 or 5+5, but without any distractions, you can crush 99% of players. 99%. Because by the way, I saw one of the games. I saw one of the games you play against. I'm not sure who was that, but probably a woman FIDE master, woman international master, and you played on the stream and off the stream. And believe me, the difference was some like 300 points. You played off the stream some like 2,500, and when during the stream you were playing some like 2,000. I was something like that. No, it's not the same person, right?
Yes.
And that's why it needs to be said that whenever we have a real title player, I mean real, some like the title is not fake, some like not bot, and so on, right? And whenever you have some like serious, let's say, competitive player that is pretty much at shape. Most often the time, if the player is not at least 2000 elo rating, the real one, the majority of players would be crushed some like 98 or 99 times out of 100, right? Because it's not expressed that much. Therefore, I'm just let's say saying that a little bit more, let's say, with the power. What about that? Do you agree on that?
Yes. I agree.
I just this one experiment. Of course, I am just doing all of the time experiments because I am a scientific guy, not a player.
Yes.
A little bit of let's say educator, but I love testing. And recently I tested out. I am a little bit laughing because I call this Thinker Fish. Probably you just heard about it. Thinker Fish is my internal engine.
Yes.
I'm doing the tests, right? And I am trying to let's say make a lot of tests about Thinker Fish. And there I have some of the statistics when there are players, let's say 500 or 600 rating below me. Out of 80 games, I lost just one. Out of 80 games. And therefore, it shows that even if you are way stronger than me, but I can, let's say, eat on the breakfast, to put it literally, eat on the breakfast such a player, this player would not exist if you would be playing seriously, right?
Yes.
And that's why it is some like ridiculous that somebody players say, "Oh, I won against Frushi. I just crushed her within 20 moves." How many games have you played? One, right? The
Yes.
statistical data, right? One game I won,
Yes.
and now I'm the world champion, right?
Yes. Yes, I agree. And yes, I met so many people like this. It's incredible. They won one game, and it's okay. Good job. I also like to brag when I beat someone.
of course.
But when that becomes the burden and the norm, that's okay. I beat Frushi. That's easy peasy from now on, because I can always beat her, even if I'm a 1800 rated player. I can always beat her because out of one game I beat her. That's not necessarily the case. Of course. I also beat grandmasters in Title Tuesday, but I can't say that. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, because I know I had a good game, but of course if we play 10 more games, then the result would be different.
Yeah, the statistical significance. And now if you are going into a little bit of science, let's get into the psychology and science in general, because we'll be talking about psychology, chess pieces of advice, time management, coping the stress, and so on. And if you can let us know, how did you get into the psychology in your, let's say, university and in your, let's say, education, and how you, let's say, combined psychology, or how have you been combining, because it's the process probably, with actual, let's say, level of your qualifications, and how you use this psychology to help your students, or maybe help yourself as well, to understand all of the game, all of the chess game, and all of the nuances. How it is started. I mean, your psychology education and how you connected it with chess.
Well, for a very long time, I wanted to be a doctor, and I prepared until the last year until the last year of high school. I wanted to become a doctor, but in the last year, I took this into another perspective, because to be a doctor, I have to study a lot, and chess would be for sure sacrificed, because I will have zero time to study chess if I also have to study medicine. And so the second other thing that always interested me is psychology, because this coach that I told you about, he also read a lot of psychological articles, and he always taught me about things, and it was interesting. And I thought, well, since I have biology, a higher level biology in high school, and which is needed at psychology, this is one of the subjects you can take to psychology school. Okay, let's do that, since I'm really interested in this one. And I can connect the two, and my coach helped me a lot to connect these and use this during the games. Of course, not being unfair to your opponent, but how to move on when there is a bad move on the we just made a bad move, and how not to panic, for example, or how to move on once you lose a game.
How to stay cool, right? After some like happens unexpected, or some like not a great one. How to stay cool and get the resources.
Yes. So he helped me a lot in this, and I still sometimes I feel it would be good to know more about this. I normally feel like that there is so many other things I can learn, and I know nothing, and that's my general impression. But when I want to help my students, I try to tell them what is based on my experience, for example, in tournaments, because I played a lot of over-the-board tournaments in my life. And I know how to handle these bad feelings. I'm not expert, of course. I can be crushed after a very very bad result, but maybe I can heal faster nowadays than if, for example, a beginner who is put in the same shoes. Who was put in the same shoes and they lose a very bad game, then I can help them through. Yes, I like to prepare them. For example, if they tell me they are going to over the board tournament, then we discuss how to do these things. For example, I tell them how to handle these gossips, for example, because there is gossiping, let's be honest, on tournaments that that guy beat the best guy in the city, so who I think he will be the next world champion. Watch out, really, he will beat everyone. And it's really hard to sit down against someone who is the best.
Some people shivering, right?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, I was paired against this guy. Oh my
Yes.
goodness, I need to run away.
Yes.
I know the feeling, yeah.
Yes, and on the other hand, the opposite can happen. Oh, that's such a noob. I think you will win in 10 moves.
I'll crush him.
Yeah, yes, and people sit down. Okay, I will crush him, and with this mentality, they lose and they wonder, oh, what happened? And so I also like to prepare them for this, not to believe just like, okay, not, and just leave this gossip away. Like, don't let it affect you. Or if you are in a winning position, I like to tell them that, or in a either the tournament or in the round itself. That whenever you are playing a game, don't focus, okay, so if I win this one, I will play against that guy, so my winning chances increase maybe, and they start thinking about future. That is not the game. And I like to prepare them for these as well. Or if they are in a better position, how to handle that. Don't just be like, oh, he doesn't know how to resign, or he doesn't see that he's
This guy
-3.
is prolonging the game. I am going to ask the arbiter to stop it because I'm not going to convert the advantage for the next 20 moves. It's visible, it's winning, right?
Yes.
It's visible.
Yes.
Nobody plays that.
Yes.
All grandmasters just completely resign, right? I'm not going to play that.
Yes, and on the other hand, I see so many players complain after the game when they had a better position. I consider myself a swindler because I tend to get into worse positions because of my lack of opening knowledge. And well, of course, I also blunder and make mistakes, but I was trained to be tough mentally and not to give up and think, oh no, what will I do now? Oh my God, my coach will scold me, or really just panic. I like to be there and say, okay, well, yeah, this is a bad position. Yeah, okay, but how can we make this more complicated, or how can we, where can we focus on? To maybe win this or draw this, and I really have a good score in this, and after the game people come to me, you were dead lost, you should have resigned. What did you do?
You should resign completely.
And I have seen people screaming with their opponent, not with me. Fortunately, I never had an opponent like this, but I have seen people scream with their opponent that you should have resigned, or you should have accepted my draw in this theoretically draw rook endgame. Yes, my friend. Yes, my friend, it is a theoretically draw endgame. Do you know how it is draw? No?
Yeah.
Well, but for you.
You have learned.
Yes. Yeah, so it's
Great
fun.
points, great points. By the way, when I was a little bit more active tournament player, because I haven't played seriously ever, but I wanted to make the tests. I never learned about the openings unless I need to learn about the next 3 to 5 moves, but no more than that. And always I played my, let's say, style that I always try to surprise my opponent. And whenever I had the same situation, that's why I'm let's say sympathizing with you, and I'm laughing as well. That some of the players says, "Oh, it was completely crushed after 15 moves. It was completely crushed. How could you lose that?" And it was to my opponent that they started shouting at him or something like screaming, and they sometimes use even a little bit of insulting. They say, "How much idiot you need to be to lose against this guy with such position," right?
Yes.
Back then it was a little bit harsher because most players who are not having the experience over the board, if they just see some like online plays that are super short and all of the games are, let's say, bam, 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 next one, they may not have the experience seeing how much struggle you need to let's say experience whenever you have so-called a winning position. And whenever I am talking to my viewers that if you have the winning position, it is another game, not the position you continue.
Yes.
It's completely new game. It's something like a chess version 2.0, right? Something like a completely new game. And I am always emphasizing that if you reach so-called winning position, ask yourself at least 3 questions. First, how much do you think it's the one position? Something like what are the objective features that you are convinced that this position is winning? The second one, do you know how to convert this position? And the third one, are you scared that you are playing against the player that is way stronger than you, right? Because sometimes if you have the winning position, but the stronger player try to make some kind of tricks, after some time your position collapses. And it's like, Jesus Christ, I was up a rook, how could I lose it, right? But the stronger players know they are tricks.
Yes. Well, my this mentioned coach, he taught me that if you get into an advantage against anyone, or material advantage, let's say they sacrifice something, and it seems like they have a scary attack. Try to stay calm because it's completely normal that now they have the initiative. Yeah, maybe it will die out, and you will be able to defend, but for that you will need to stay calm. So what maybe helps is to understand that yes, this is normal. That now they attack more and
they have nothing to lose, right? They have nothing to lose.
Yes, right, and yes, it's better to keep it in mind. I don't like these advices when we are in a better position and the higher rated opponent does a trick and they sacrifice something. Don't take it. They for sure know what they are doing. Don't. And like no. It's not how it works because we cannot just sit there, okay, just let's get over with this game because he knows what he's doing. No, I normally like to say that the players should trust themselves. They should know that, they are the gods, because some players think that I'm great and I can tell them that I blundered so many times, and if I hang my queen, there might be no reason. I just hang my queen and they can take it in a blitz game, for example. Hopefully not in an over the board game, but
not that often. At least not that often, right?
Yes, right. So I can say on my level, and another thing why I respected my last coach is that sometimes he came to the lessons showing bad games from grandmasters. When they blundered, when they did an elementary mistake, or they just did something to show, see, there is no need to be afraid of anyone because they are humans and they can make a mistake. Maybe it's against you, but if you sit there being scared, not afraid to take their sacrifice, then you won't win. So if you don't see how that continues, take it. If you have good feelings about it, because you don't see what happens. Of course, it requires some skills,
knowledge and experience.
Yes,
correct.
Yes. So that is important. But yeah, don't just sit there and overestimate anyone, and also don't underestimate anyone. A general rule I give to my students, and which I also got: don't play against the person who is playing against you, but against white or black. So don't
against the board, right?
Against the board,
against the human.
Yes, yes,
got it.
Yes, because we tend to be more careful if we are. I personally, for example, if I play against a higher rated, I tend to be a little bit more cautious and not so aggressive. And for example, on my last over the board tournament in Palapora 1 month ago, that's the mistake I did. I was too cautious, too passive, because I didn't want to be aggressive, because I don't know what if they find a plan. It wasn't conscious, this idea, but it was there. But if I played against only the board, then maybe the case would have been different. Yes.
Got it. Thank you very much for this extensive reply. And I would like to add a little bit, because whenever I was playing over the board, there was the situation that sometimes I was, let's say, paired against stronger players. And I had the feeling that after some time, there is no point. And that's why it is one of the reasons why playing many games over the board, if you are serious about chess, is that much important. Because it is some like a statistics, but I would say wise statistics, right? Some like a clever one. The more games you play, the more games you see new tricks. If you just try to figure out these tricks, even if you lose these tricks are some like not unlimited, right? They have some like the set of tricks that they would impose on you, but after some time you will start recognizing them, right? And then if you have the experience, and if you can see that even you are playing against stronger player, the player just makes some like a crazy sacrifice or some like a ridiculous move. If you believe that this is the best, let's say, approach and some like the best line that you've calculated or just figured out, just do it. Even if you lose, it's not a problem. Because when I analyze the games with my students, I always ask them about one: do your best and enjoy chess as much as possible. Do not even think about the result. And one of my recent students, that I started asking him about, let's say, focusing more over the tactics, played such a great game that I started praising him. And he was something like that: yes, but why do you praising me? Because I played a normal game. And I said, no, you played great game because you integrated tactics, the stuff that I asked you to do. So he was a little bit resistant, but I told him that even because some players are a little bit single-minded, if I can say that. We'll be talking in a moment about, let's say, growth mindset and fixed mindset. Some players are a little bit one-sided. They just think that chess is either tactical, either positional, right? You are either the tactician that you are just murdering all of the opponents like a Tal, or positional player that are grinding down, let's say, the endgame up to 119 moves, and after that your opponent collapse or faint out, right? And the truth is that you can, or you should emerge it, right? You can think something like the stuff that is together. And I convinced my student, because he was a little bit resistant, as I just mentioned, I convinced him that I will just show you some of the, because he was a little bit too much strategical, and he thought that tactics is not that much important because I'll make the solid strategical position and your opponent cannot, let's say, finish me off with tactics. But I told him, what would you do if your opponent make the unsound sacrifice, and if you not follow the tactical path, you'll get a worse position. And if he does again, you'll get lost position, right? Therefore, you must know at least the basic of tactics. And I asked him, we are just making such a deal about two movers. What is this deal all about? I asked him about that whenever he loses the game, that is more than two movers, I mean the player's, let's response, his response and the combination. Whenever he loses the game more than two movers, I will not tell anything about tactics. But if he blunders the piece in one move or two moves, I will start shouting at him. And he started listening. Maybe it is a good idea for you to use it, right? As
Yes,
the coach.
yes, actually, yes. And there is someone in chat said that to this subject that if you know your opponent is good positional player, then you try to play a complex game and reverse for a tactical player. Yes, I agree. Before my games with my coach, we went through my opponent's games and see where they did a mistake, if they are better at tactical games or if they understand positional play. And yes, once you have a little experience in both, then you can try to do accordingly. You know that okay, I know my opponent is good at tactics, and I will try to play a little bit more solid. And yeah, I also have a preference for tactical or more sharper positions. But it is a good strategy, but not on lower levels, I would say, because on lower levels it might be a little bit confusing. And because at first everyone knows or learns how to about tactics and the main motive, so therefore they tend to use that, and I agree that this is a good strategy, but it's mostly on higher levels, I believe, maybe starting from 1800 2000 FIDE rating, maybe.
Yeah, got it. I think it depends on how to put that, because I would like to address a little bit more, because you are a title player, and whenever I see title players, I'll try to extract what are the features that each of the title players has. And most of these, let's say, features are some like, I'm trying to build some like a theoretical model. And one of these features is always visible, always. No matter what is this player title, for example, FIDE Master, International Grandmaster, no matter, but this feature is always visible. Title players has the tendency, or maybe the skill, but tendency in the sense of looking always at this side of the perspective, they always look for the hidden resources. For example, if you start attacking stronger player, right? For example, if I played against you and if I would be some like 1800, oh, I gained the advantage, she blundered a pawn, right? I have a center and so on. You'll be looking for some kind of contours of either stopping my attack, either making the sacrifice to get into the theoretical position, either to steer into the end game, that you know that it's very difficult to win, even if you have the advantage, right? And that's why stronger players, if they are especially title players, they know a lot of tricks. And that's why sometimes when, as you just mentioned about this player that he won against you, he or she probably has no idea how much various tools you have at your disposal, because most of them, the players are a little bit one-sided, as I just mentioned. They just think that you know the openings, you know tactics, you know strategy, and you know just the end game. That's it. Some like 4 elements that you are master, because you are just having these elements on a high level, but they do not know about your experience, about time management, about threat management, about counterplay, about all of the other stuff that is something under the surface. What about that?
Yes. I couldn't agree more, actually. And I don't know what else to add, because you said it so nicely. Yes. It's not only openings, middle games and end games, and strategy and tactics. It's much more than that. There are so many other things, like you said, stress management. I like this word. So there is the psychology, there is the physical part also. If I am hungry, maybe I won't play that. That is also there. So the physical part, the psychology part, maybe I had a fight with someone before the game. That is also there. But I need to know how to just shut it out in that moment if I want to play. And Yeah, so there are so many other things. Time management, which I struggle with. Yes, you can. For example, I can manage. Well, let's not say I have a good time management, but let's say my moves are correct until move 20, 25. But once I go under in 10 minutes or 5 minutes in a classical game, of course. Then of course I won't find the right moves and the right ideas. So that is also there, and you also have to have a good time management. The other thing I hate to say, I hate to hear from other players is that, oh, you just flogged me. I had a better position, or yeah, so you just won because I did not have time in the end, and I just messed it up. Yes, yes,
Yes, I did it deliberately.
yes, yes. So that is part of the game. Time is also a piece, if you wish.
Time is another piece on the board. Yes.
Yes, yes. So this is what I would add.
Yeah, thank you very much. And one of the stuff that I think that it should be really nice if we just try to list at least a few of the features is the question about our friend Steven. He asked about what tool books should we all have. Probably he mentions about the psychological stuff, right? For example, what are the psychological let's say elements we need to work on and how to manage them. And to make you a little bit easier, I will start with my own experience. Is that okay?
Okay, sure.
I have a huge problem with time management, and with coping with losses. Not just stress, because stress was the reflection of the losses, but coping with losses. With time management, I just get that much, let's say, into the rabbit hole that I could stare for hours, literally for hours, even if I just had 30 minutes on the game. Most often the time, 8 out of 10, I just get into severe time trouble and I lose the game most of the time. Of course, then I was frustrated, I was pissed off, I was upset because I knew that I can get a way better, but I knew that as long as I will be, let's say, getting into this rabbit hole, I'm not going to manage this time problem, that time management problem. What I did, I told to myself, either it is me, either it is the time management. One of these guys dies. And I'm serious. And I dedicated myself to get rid of the time trouble, because I was the guy that was trying to, let's say, squeeze the water from the stone in the sense of longevity of the thought of over the board. And
Yes.
I started playing deliberately fast games, and now, be careful, after just 10 years, I get rid of that. Just 10 years. I'm not kidding. I have played about 150,000 blitz games. Some of these were bullets, but not that many. Some like 5% bullets, 95% blitz, either 5 minutes or either 3 minutes or 5 minutes without the increment. I needed to play 150,000 games over the period of 10 years to get rid of the time trouble. Nowadays, for the last, let's say, 10 years, time trouble is just 2% of my problem. 25 years ago, it was 95% of my problem. And therefore, it's possible to overcome it. Another one that I would like to address, because it's something like pretty much, let's say, related to the first one, was the problems that I couldn't cope with the losses, because I knew, of course, that I need to learn more. I knew that I played not correct and so on. Of course, I was pretty much stubborn. But what was the biggest problem? The problem that was rooted inside me was some like a belief that was very, very deep inside me that whenever I lose the game, I'm complete idiot. It was not expressed, let's say, in a natural way, but it was inside me. And the more I lost the game, the more I feel like the idiot, the complete idiot that the world has never seen. And it was some like the self-fulfilling prophecy that you lose and you feel like an idiot. You feel like an idiot, the more chances you lose again, right? After because it cost me 20 years. I'm not kidding. I'm not making it up. After 20 years, I decided, because I quit playing tournament games as well, but I decided that I no longer will I will no longer worry about the result, as long as I'll do myself, do the best of myself, and in the meantime, try to enjoy the game. And after I stopped focusing over the score, I focused over the process. I simply started getting better and way better. At the last 5 years, I, let's say, get with the rating of 400 points. I mean the rating, online rating, not the over the board. But what is the most important? Even if I lose the game, I am not upset. Of course, there are some situations that, for example, if I have a completely won position, I have a lot of time and I blunder queen against, let's say, 260 players. Of course, I would be upset, right? But I wouldn't be that much upset that once when I played against Fix League, free internet chess server, something like a brand of ICC, but ICC is commercial, Fix is the free one. That whenever I played on the league, once I had the winning position, completely winning position against 24 or 2500 player, it was probably FIDE Master, because we played some like various leagues. And whenever he just bounced back, I lost the game. And it is one of the, let's say, very, very rare occurrence. I couldn't get to myself for the next 2 weeks. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't see in the mirror myself. I was hating myself for 2 weeks. I'm not kidding. And after that, probably it was the experience that it must be something like realized that I simply thought that whoever I lose against, I mean the audience, can laugh. But if I learned about this game, what I could do better, I can lose each and every game. And the same I share about my stream, that sometimes the players say, oh, I am just 1500, I won against you. Congratulations, you did a great job. But take notice that if you will be playing 100 games, I would not be distracted, I will be fully focused, you will not have the chance. I will beat you badly, right? But in the meantime, from time to time, if you're winning, if you did your best, I couldn't manage your attack, I just blundered because I didn't see your idea, okay, you are better, right? And that's why these two stuff, something like trying to accept the losses and trying to, let's say, not get into very, very deep thought. If you need to know that there is something like a practical solution, probably this is one of the solutions to help our players. And if you can continue, what other stuff would be possible to, let's say, apply to our, let's say, audience, it will be fantastic.
Yes. Yes. By the way, I'm sorry if you hear bombing sounds in the background. Sometimes here they like to throw dynamite in this Greek island.
Oh, I knew. Probably they started with C4 explosive. Some people testing out C4 opening. I'm not sure it is ready or English opening, but C4 is explosive. Do not try this at home, guys. Do not try this at home. Okay, you can continue.
Yes. Well, I have so many thoughts. I don't even know where to start. So, yeah. So. Sorry, one moment. Okay. I sometimes get a little bit scared of these bombs because they are really loud. I don't know, chat, how much they hear it or how much you could hear it, but
it was some like explosive. I didn't know what was that, but I knew that somebody test out C4 opening. Definitely.
Oh wow! In the meantime, sorry, I got a huge rate.
Great.
From chess. So let me just say a few words what we are doing here. So hello everyone. Thank you so much for the raid. Welcome raiders. We are talking about chess improvement, chess psychology also, and everything that can be interesting if you would like to improve, or even if not, then it can be interesting to hear. Well, our guest here is Tom, thinker teacher. Check him out here and give him a follow. He is a teacher and a thinker. And as you can hear, he knows a lot about chess improvement. And I am Fruji, a woman with a master from Hungary, and I normally stream chess, both of us. So welcome everyone, join us. If you have any questions, let us know. I saw that there were a few questions in chat. I would like you guys, if you could repeat it after our talk, because it's really hard to follow and follow both chat and our conversation as well. Okay, so back to the question. Could you repeat it for chat also?
Yeah, of course. We are talking about right now, of course, we are talking about the stuff that are related to psychology and so-called practical psychology. What I mean, there are some problems that many players, I mean, especially below 2000, they suffer. For example, they try to find so-called a perfect move, they waste a lot of time, and they collapse, and after that they cannot, let's say, overcome this problem. All of the time they are just using too much time at the positions that require to play, practically speaking, automatically, and sometimes they are trying to predict the future up to 30 moves that even grandmasters do not do it, right? And we are just trying to see what are the, let's say, most practical pieces of advice based on the psychology related to chess practical problems that we can manage with the use of so-called psychology in a global sense.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I also tend to be terrible at time management, and it's good to hear that there is hope for me to overcome this. Because I also tend to get lost, get into this rabbit hole that we were talking about. And actually, I think one of the best things that you can do if you have struggles with time management is that, of course, it's important to be there consciously that you want to change this. So it won't just happen that, okay, you push a button on yourself and it changes. It's something that you have to work on. And for example, what I was told, and when I wanted to work on this problem, and I think it can be really useful. Well, on higher levels, it's important. Well, first of all, let's just find the root of this time management problem. For example, why are we not making that move? Do we fall asleep, or we are not confident enough to make that move because, oh my God, I'm playing against a 200 rated more player, or this guy is just a kid, and what if I lose against him even though I have like a 1000 rating points more? I have to sit there and think it out, and think so much in that position. Whatever it is, it's important to find the reason, I think. And on the other hand, for example, I will talk about my time management problem just as an example. So for example, I have poor opening knowledge, poor theory knowledge, and one thing that could improve it, of course, learning more theory and learning the middle games that come after the opening, what plans are made there, and so therefore I don't spend so much time. It's also important to know that there is to know, for example, when you have to think in that situation and when you don't have to think in that situation. General rule I would say is that once everything is hanging on the board, then yes, you have to sit down and calculate, because if you don't, then you will lose a piece. But if it's that position almost, there is nothing hanging, there are no forcing moves, then yeah, you can calculate 30 moves ahead, but you will still be nowhere because it's hard to find what to do there, and it's better to evaluate and see, go with plans instead of calculation. Yes.
Yeah. probably, maybe I'll just continue a little bit. Probably one of the ideas that is pretty much practical one about the, let's say, time management is the idea related to the, let's say, complexity of the position, and the idea related to your time management if you see how much, let's say, progress is made on the board. For example, if the position is that easy for you individually, it doesn't mean objectively, but for you, that you can play it out, and let's say it is the over the board game that is 30 plus seconds increment, right? That you can play just over the increment, you might have just 2 minutes, right? 2 minutes as the time after, let's say, move 40 or 45, because you know this position that you can play it out some like automatically, right? Without deeper thoughts, just of course realizing simple threats. But if the position is complex enough that you will not be able to figure it out easily, you cannot make an easy exchange, some like make the position super complex, even at the cost of the pawn that is not that much important, then you need to know that you need to follow your clock. For example, one of ideas that I use all of the time, and I'll try to share it as well, is to, if you are sure about the move and you know that you cannot think anything better, just play it out automatically. Even if after, let's say, next 20 or 30 minutes, you probably may find another stuff, but if you do not see this already on the board, it will be a way more difficult to figure it out. And therefore, for example, if there are just 2 legal moves, right? For example, the king is in check, and one move is just getting out of the check on the square that is something like safe. Another one is to block with the queen, but the queen would be captured by the bishop that is giving the check. Probably, let's say, closing the check with the queen doesn't make too much sense, except some of the deeper combinations. If there is no deeper combinations, play it out automatically, this move that you need to play, because there are just 2 moves. And some of the practical examples I just saw, I mean over the board plays in the meantime, that some of the players, even if they just have 1 legal move, not 2 moves, but 1 legal move, they didn't make this move. They were thinking over their time, and it is a big mistake, because if you just play it move, you need to play it, right? But if you play it, you will have a new image over the board, right? It is a way easier to process the data, easier to visualize, easier to calculate if you have the real image over the board, not the image that you need to foresee. What about that?
Yes, indeed. When you there is this illumination that I also use. So, for example, if I know that this is basically only move, then I just try to play it and see what happens later, because I don't, at that moment when I am there and I know that's the only one move that doesn't loser doesn't get me into a worse position, then I just play it and see what happens later. I don't care. Or for example, in end games especially, there are situations when you know that you have to push this pawn, and then what happens later, you will see it, but this pawn for sure will be pushed. So you push it and later you see. So you try to save calculation and energy and time on calculation, because these are also important.
And it is so-called, as you just mentioned, this move is more like obligatory one, even if you do not know how the game continue. And that's why if you just have a lot of games playing over the board, not just one tournament, and if you just spoil this tournament, you are completely screwed, right? You need to have at least 5 or 10 tournaments, because some of the tournaments will go right, some of them will go wrong. It is not something like full control over your power. And therefore, I guess it is one of the ideas that if you think that this is the move that you need to play it out as quickly as possible. As long as you do not see something like a deeper meaning of the position, and as long as you do not think that you can find the move in allotted time a way better, something like you can find the checkmating attack instead of grabbing the pawn, right? And sometimes this is the, let's say, stuff that you need to invest 20 minutes because you are sure, or you have the intuition that this is the final attack, that if you just make a series of 5, let's say, best move, your opponent either is checkmated or losing material, something like a queen or the rook, right? Then you invested. And one more stuff that I guess we need to address is the rule about, probably it was Bent Larsen. I'm not sure if it is precisely him, but probably it was attributed to him. Long variation wrong variation. What about that? Have you heard about it? Did you let's say test it out in your games? Long variation, wrong variation.
Yes, well, the longer the variation is, the less accurate we become also. So, spending so much time on one variation, trying to see what happens, that is maybe not even necessary. Yes, you can mess it up more than you would if you just play if you saw the position until 3 moves. And I like this question when someone asks, okay, but does it mean I have to see the moves 10 moves ahead? Because do grandmasters always calculate 20 moves ahead? Do they really see it? Yeah, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, when it's not required. And you have to know which one it is. And of course, if you calculate so much in a position where it's not needed, then you will just get lost, and you might not get the right idea, because not in every position you have to see so far. And yes. And also, if you, for example, start calculating immediately and a long variation, like you said, where it's not required, then you might, if you jump just right into calculation without evaluation, then you might miss something that is there in the position, but because you go so far ahead, you don't see it. Yes, and it personally happened to me, of course. It's really not a good thing, and I always like to say that first evaluate the position, like what you need to do there, probably how much you need to calculate. Not that now I need to calculate either 8 or 9 moves. No, that's not what I'm saying. But if you really have to sit down, or if you can just make a plan and without getting deeper into it.
Yes, I fully agree. It is, of course, as you just mentioned, it is something like the experience. The more experience you have, the faster you can figure out how much do you need to invest the time into specific position, right? Because it's based on the experience. Experience is built into intuition. And after the time, you ask the master, how did you know that you need to invest into this position? Because it feels right? Because it's obvious.
Yes. And actually, I have a question in chat.
Yeah, go on.
That's how far deep do we need to calculate to win? And that's what I'm saying, that there is no rule that I always 5 moves ahead. It depends on the position.
I will just extend it a little bit, because Dan Heisman just answered this question. Of course, it's a universal response, but I guess it's a pretty practical one. We need to calculate the variation, or see the position rather, because calculation is just the effect of this, up till so-called clarity. And Dan Heisman uses a little bit awkward word. He says it is so-called quiescence. Quiescence is the let's say position that you no longer need to dig up the position deeper, because all of the most important, let's say, stuff was done. For example, exchanges, so then the threats and so on. And the position is some kind of quiet. The position doesn't need to be, let's say, figure out the deep at this moment. Therefore, Dan Heisman uses the term quiescence. I would say the clarity of the calmness of the position, that you do not need to do it. And if you would be forced to do it, then you have some like a new position that after 5 or 6 moves, you can see on the board anew, right?
Yes, right.
And now if I can ask you about another stuff, because we are having at our chat as well, the question from Halebols, how not to tilt, and just a little bit explanation about others, because probably, of course, you know what's going on, but some of the audience may not. Tilt is the state that you lose some of the games, you start punishing yourself, and you are going even worse. And how not to continue this process? What can be done to fix this problem or this state?
Yes, and actually I wanted to go back to this, because you also mentioned not beating up yourself, and how you changed. Well, first of all, it's important to keep in mind that if you lose a game, that's not the end of the world. If you have a terrible tournament, that's not the end of the world. I tell you an example, which is not so nice. So once I was invited to the Hungarian National Women Chess Championship, and I prepared months, and I became the last one out of 10 people, and I prepared, and if I say, oh, okay, let's just quit this game, it's obviously not my thing, but you need to know that so many things are going on, so you can have a bad game. Keep that in mind, that maybe you are in a bad shape in that moment, and yeah, it happens, you lose more times, and this is something that you cannot really avoid. If you are in a bad shape, you can put more focus on the game and double check your moves, but you will still be in a bad shape, and that's not the end of the world. Just because you lose, you won't be an idiot. Just because you lose, it doesn't mean you don't know how to play chess. Or so yeah, keep this in mind, and once you are in this tilting mode, because I also get tilted sometimes and beat myself up, but maybe not so often anymore, because I know, okay, I have, for example, on over the board tournaments, because online sometimes it's like, oh, okay, let's just play the next game, I don't care.
Yes, you can click and you can forget it, right?
Yes.
You can throw it out.
Yes, right. But on an over the board tournament, for example, a classical game, if you lose, then you are that will stay with you for 24 hours almost until the next game. And if you are there, oh my God, what a noob I am. I just blundered queen takes f3, and I left my knight on f3, and what an idiot I am. Yeah, stop this talk. Stop this talk.
Sometimes there is an addition. How could I, right? How could I miss it? How could I blunder? How could I? It is some like a little bit of, let's say, unspoken expression. I am a machine. How could I blunder? I am a machine, right?
Yes.
I do not have the right to blunder. Others, yes, they are patzers, they are noobs. I am world champion, right?
Yes. Well, of course, do not have this kind of thinking. Yes, that is step one. Just because you have X rating, on purpose I don't say the rating because it can mean different to different viewers and players. But just because you have that X rating, for me, let's say 2100 elo points, then it doesn't mean that I am the god or the goddess. It doesn't mean that I am the world champion. Yes, I cannot win anymore. I cannot lose games anymore. So keep it a little bit off and try to treat these losses, instead of just screaming with yourself, how can I learn from this? What did I do? Why did this happen? I didn't see it. And don't just consider the chess parts, but I also like to add the psychological, physical parts. I had a game not long ago. I was in a winning position, but I almost blundered because in the room it was so hot that I could barely breathe. Because there was no air. So consider, and these are not excuses. It's important to know why it happened. And how I can learn from this, how can I fix this, how can I work on this. If you have a coach, discuss it with your coach, of course, but you can also do this by yourself. Just be really conscious about it. Why did this happen? Because I also see a few coaches that start to scream with their student that, how stupid are you? You just lost against this person, and that doesn't help. This blaming does not help. This will just dig you deeper or put you on a lower level in mindset, and so it does not help. I like to look at mistakes as little friends. It sounds a bit
learning opportunities, probably, right?
Yes, of course. It sounds like a cliche, but it is true. You cannot just use these mistakes to prove how big idiot you are. it is something that you need to learn from, and that's how you can overcome them. And yes, there will be times when you are tilted. Once, let's say you are playing online, I think online it happens more times that you are there and you're just having a losing streak. Then learn when to stop. Accept, okay, this is not my day. I'm not an idiot, but this is not my day. Now I respectfully retire for today. I just take a break at least, and do some puzzles if you want to do chess, or learn something else instead of playing, and return to the game a little bit later. So yes, that's how I try to overcome.
Very good point, very good pieces of advice. I really appreciate it. And I will just let's say, because I was let's say listening to you and trying to figure out another stuff, because probably it would be not just humorous, but in the meantime it may be a little bit of trigger for others who are listening us carefully. If I could give the advice about being an idiot, right? Because probably it is one of the insults that many players below, let's say, rating 2000 or maybe 2400, because 2000 is not that, not the precise. Below 2400, they use it against themselves, right? And when I give the advice to my students and sometimes to my viewers as well, I say something like that: you have a fully right to be a complete idiot, the biggest idiot on the earth, but there is one rule you need to obey. Try not to exceed 5 minutes limit. That's it.
Yes.
If you're the idiot just for 5 minutes, it's okay. Try just not to exceed it, and that's it.
Yes. Yes, and actually good point. We can just have this positivity, because of course I am angry after a lost game. Be angry, yes, be mad, but have a time limit when you are mad, and then just move on, because you have the right to be mad. I am mad after I do terrible things. For example, just to make chat feel better, last year I resigned in a theoretically draw position, and I went home mad. I wanted to punch the wall, and no, I'm just kidding. I'm not that aggressive.
That's why I wanted to ask, how that much aggressive is hidden inside you?
No, I'm not this aggressive, but I was obviously angry and sad, of course. A huge amount of self-pity was going on, and have this grieving period, but then say, okay, now I stop. I just want to focus on the next game, if you have a next game, or if you are on a tournament and the next round is tomorrow, and you have the whole day to have self-pity, just have the limit. Okay, now I stop. That's it. Let's learn from this.
Yeah, I fully agree. And from practical pieces of advice for the shorter time control, because I guess it's really important to let's say share it, is the idea, because of course it's not super easy, but it may be very, very helpful. For example, if we are playing, for example, 7 or 9 rounds, let's say rapid, 10 or 15 minutes per player, or 12 minutes plus 2 seconds, because it's the equivalent. Whenever we do not want to get into the too much emotional turmoil, it is a very good idea not to get into deep time trouble. Because whenever we are just finishing out the rounds and we are just hanging and banging up the clock very quickly, because not to flag, or the opponent needs to flag us, and after the, let's say, 30 seconds, new rounds started out, we are just having a volcano inside our heart, right? Something like being emotionally unstable. And then when we started out this next game with such an, let's say, approach, and our opponent just didn't get into time trouble, either won or lose, it doesn't matter, but he's pretty much very, very focused, because he had a break before the next one started, let's say at least 3 minutes. We started just immediately being some like emotionally overloaded. it may be the cause for the losses. And that's why it may be one of the idea not to get into severe time trouble, because this severe time trouble not only can cost you the game, but it can cost you another game, because you'll be too much, let's say, too emotionally, let's say, destroyed, if I can say that.
Yes.
And about the stuff related to tilting or tilt, I have such a rule that whenever I lose 8, maximum 10 games in a row, I quit playing this game. No matter what is this tourney, if I lose 8 games in a row, I say, okay, guys, today I can't play. I am an idiot. I am a blind. You can call me whatever you wish, but you can see I am just blundering left and right. There was some streams, I must confess, but it is some like 2 streams a year. 2 streams a year, I'm a complete idiot. I play worse than I would even expect it in my scariest dreams. And then after 8 games, I say, guys, we can make the puzzle, we can make a chill out, but I am not going to play any single games. And this is one of the idea, because probably you can see a lot of the memes, right? About, let's say, the guy that says, okay, now I need to play just up to the moment I win the game. And after, let's say, for the next 5 hours, the guy lost 200 rating points, right? The memes that are pretty popular.
Yes.
And that's why just make the rule, because it's practical as well, because I am just trying to make a little bit of humor, but it's practical as well. I mean, the other coaches' advices as well. Just set up the specific number of games that if you exceed it, you just do not play, let's say, at this day. For example, it may be 6, it may be 10, it may be 15. It's up to you. It's up your emotional, let's say, resistance, right? Emotional, let's say, resistance that you, let's say, are not upset losing that many games. Because some players, of course, may be upset after losing 3 games in a row, but other players, especially if they know what is the goal of learning. For example, if I would be playing the adoption match against you, right? Then if I play against you, I know that I can learn a lot after analyzing this game. Even if I would be losing five games in a row, I will not stop, right? Because I know that I need to do my best. This is something like a testing conditions for all of my skills I possessed ever, right? And then it sounds like a specific situation. Do you agree on that?
Yes, totally.
Okay.
Yes.
And now let's go into the phenomena that I guess it is pretty much related to psychology, related to talent, related to potential, because we'll be talking in a moment about Polgar sisters phenomena and Polgar sisters prodigies. What do you think about predispositions to chess and so-called chess talent? Do you think chess talent exists or not? And if exists, how you can, let's say, measure it, check it out, and for experience, how do you know that this player has that talent, this player doesn't have the talent? Can you make it a little bit elaboration about that?
Yeah, sure. It's a very interesting question. I had this debate on stream sometime, and everyone has opinion on it. I do believe there are talents. But it might not be so mystical and genius as people would think. So I think, in my opinion, talent is when so talent is something that you are more sensitive to that information, meaning that if let's say a not talented and a talented person listen to the same thing, and the talented person maybe will suck the information in like a sponge, while the not talented person will have to go through this like 3, 4, 5 times maybe to understand it better. So in my opinion, this is what talent means, but it doesn't mean that the person who is not talented cannot keep up, because I believe chess has different aspects where you can be talented at. You can have an excellent memory, then maybe you will be great at theory. So it's not that I am talented at chess and that's it and you are not. Yes, maybe I am talented more in finding I don't know, the tactics, because I have yes, but for example, you have a better memory and you are great at theory, or let's say you are better at finding strategy, you are more sensitive to that information, why I will be like, damn it, I will just go with tactics and 2-3 move tricks, because I don't care about strategy, because I don't understand it, but you do understand it. And maybe I understand tactics better, and I will beat you in puzzle survival or puzzle rush, but you will beat me in a real game because you are better at strategy. So that's how I like to look at it. And of course, this talent is a gift, but this is not everything. Just because you are talented, you can just lean back and say, ha ha ha, I got God's gift, let's say, and now I don't even have to learn more about tactics because I know it all.
Chess books are for noobs.
Yes.
I don't want to read any chess books. I am the best player in the world. I do not need to learn. They need to learn. I'm the god.
Yes. Yes. Hard work is also needed. So yeah, maybe someone, maybe, and it's also interesting because maybe I am talented in this and this and this, and not in this. So I'm like talented in 3 things regarding chess, and you are like talented to in one. But if you put work into it, and also I like to look at it as a scale, not just as a box. So I might be a little bit talented, and there are people who hear it once. And that's in their mind. I am talented. I need to hear it 3 times. These are just really, I want to break this into smaller.
Got it. Elements.
Elements. So it is more understandable. And maybe a not talented person has to hear it 10 times. I like to look at it as a scale. And well, of course, there are no specific numbers. That's not what I'm saying. Just it is easier. For me, let's say this thing is very easy. For me, for you, it's easy only. and that's it. Yes. But hard work is always needed. No one is born with special knowledge that my mom read this book and this is planted in my mind now.
The chess knowledge gets with the genes.
Yes.
Guys, I want to say publicly, even if Frushi is going to ban me, it's okay. I take the risk. Frushi, when she was born, she was 1800. Sorry.
So of course, Magnus Carlsen also started at 0. We can say that, and probably he had more talent. So yes, no one is really born with a special knowledge, of course. But the best is if you can mix talent with hard work, then you can succeed a lot. And of course, hard work doesn't mean 10 minutes a day. That hard work can be 8, 10, 12 hours a day. If you are really motivated and want to be a GM, because sometimes I get these questions. I had an application who wanted to be coached. It was a year ago, I believe. The person wrote to me that they want to be a GM. They are 18 years old. And how much, what do I think, how good chances they have? And I don't like to say that, okay, you passed the childhood, you cannot be anything, because I don't believe in that. Of course, as a child, you are more like a sponge than an adult, but it doesn't mean that screw it and you cannot be a GM anymore. Of course, you can still learn a lot of things, in my opinion, and maybe become a GM. Maybe not the world champion, but you can get to a high level. And he wrote to me, and I said, yeah, sure, and I added what he needs. To this, at time, of course, sacrifices, We don't imagine 1 hour a day. With 1 hour a day, we cannot really succeed so much, but 8.
We can enjoy chess, but not be professional, right? Let's put it this way.
Yes, right. So it's like work, or like a university, basically, or a college.
Or maybe something like running your company, right? If you're the owner of the company, how much do you work? 15 minutes a day, maybe 1 hour a day, or sometimes maybe 10 hours a day for 2 or 3 years. After you establish the company that is, let's say, recognizable on the market, you have the profits that you can invest the money into some kind of investment, and then you can just base on it that you can lower down your hours of work because of the, let's say, division into the workers, all of the tasks that are done or were done by you a few years ago, right?
Yes, indeed. And it's also a bit hard because it doesn't require. You also have to know what you are doing. You cannot just say that I study chess and that's it. I just analyze grandmaster games and then I will be the best ever. You have to know what you are doing. That's why coaches can help. Of course, there are things that you can do by yourself also, and you can succeed by yourself also. But some advices you will need how to proceed. Well, actually, to be honest, I don't think if you want to be very high level, I don't think you can get there by only yourself, because if you are new to something, you won't know what to learn and how to speed this up.
Effectiveness of work, right?
Yes, right. Yes. And what else? What did I want to say? Anyway, now it's gone, but.
Yeah, it is pretty much extensive. I guess it's great. And another question from the chat, because there are a lot of the questions. I'm not sure if these guys are something like waking up or something, but probably they are. Sebas, our friend from the chat, is asking about the fear of losing and not being able to play. How to manage this, right? The fear of losing, because we were talking a little bit about it. But if we just get into this problem, if somebody feel the fear of losing, how he or she can overcome it, right? How we can help him or her.
Well, first of all, why are you scared? Why do you have fears? That is important to find, in my opinion, because there is a root why you have this fear of losing. And once you know that, whatever it is, I can tell you, whatever it is. We like to dramatize, we humans, I believe, but nothing is so dramatic. Whatever your reason is, it's not the end of the world. If you think that you will be an idiot, no, you will be not, because this is not scientifically proven intelligence.
Or maybe think about 5 minutes limit, right?
Yes. Also that. And if you are, or the problem is that, oh my God, what will my parents say? That is also something that, or what will my coach say that I lost, and oh my God, I will be scolded. Then I would also say that look at this scolding. If it's only scolding with this teacher, maybe find someone else. Don't want to be mean, but I sometimes feel so sorry for these people I see, and the coach is just there shouting with them that how idiot they are. That's not good, because the focus shouldn't be on how big idiot you are or how big loser you are. The focus should be, how can we fix this? Yeah, you did this wrong. Yes, you were a little bit dumpy at this moment, but you can. This is where you made the mistake. This is why you made the mistake, and this is how we can improve in this. So that should be the focus, and try to look at these as a sign of what you can improve in. My coach used to tell me that imagine if you are stuck at one rating, and and you don't know what mistakes you do because you never lose, well, then of course you will be like Magnus Carlsen or even higher with not losing any games. That's impossible. Losses are part of the game. You will always lose. It's impossible to avoid. You have to be friends with your lost games. Just kidding, of course. But do not take this as a, oh, my life depends on this situation. So yeah, keep that in mind. But this is a game. Chill down. Nothing happens if you lose. If you blunder your queen in one, okay, happened. Why did it happen? Didn't you see it? Are you not familiar with the motive? Were you low on time? What you panicked? What happened? And try to fix that. And yeah, keep in mind, nothing is the end of the world. Don't have this, oh my God, now my life ends here or my chess career ends here. No. Chill down.
Yeah, very, very good point. Excellent answer. I really appreciate it because it's something like having the relief, if you know that it is something like a natural. And probably one of the idea, because our friend Sebas is asking about it, that we previously mentioned 1 hour ago, about fear of losing, time management, time pressure, all of the pressure that you need to deal. And the idea that we need to talk about a little bit more, because we are just striving into this topic step by step, is the mindset, right? Because we were talking about all of the, I would say, reflection of the mindset, of the approach, internal approach, and this is so-called mindset. And probably as a psychologist, you must have read the book of Carol Dweck about the mindset, right? And there is the growth mindset and fixed mindset. How could you explain us what is going on about this mindset and why you need to have the specific mindset to be able to grow at chess? How could you elaborate on that?
Well, if you want to grow, in my opinion, and you want to have this grow mindset, open mindset, then you have to be, well, first of all, let's not take things at your heart, so much that, yeah, so I do it this way and this is the right way. Be open to learn in another way. Be open to accept that you made a mistake in learning or in the game, or if someone gives you a new advice, be open to that. Don't just have this, okay, I know it all and this is how I do it, this is how I was taught. Be open to more advices, maybe, and yeah, so I would just say that be open to new information and try to evaluate it also yourself. If you don't agree with something, then try to discuss it with the other person also. If it's your coach, for example, or another player, where they think that, and tell them your points. And I think that can help a lot to be, yeah, to have a more open mindset. That's how I see it, actually. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I fully agree because, of course, it's visible from your approach because I have been following your channel as well. I'm lurking many times, therefore I don't want to spoil the fun when you are just, let's say, making a great stuff. But I am pretty much, let's say, lurking, and it is visible that you are for the growth mindset. And growth mindset, in a general sense, to summarize it, is the idea about no matter what happens in your life, try to extract most important information to make it as best as possible, right? Because it's related in a pathological, let's say, approach, or maybe the approach to deal the pathological states, something like a trauma, right? Post-traumatic stress disorder and so on, that it's not what happens objectively, but how you react on that specific stimuli, right? For example, some players some players would react about, let's say, blundering the queen. They would start laughing. They would say, oh, Alexander Botes, right? Some people would say, look, Frushi makes Eric Rosen. Oh no, my queen. Why? Because she's checkmating, let's say, sacrificing the queen. And if you have something like a little bit of distance to yourself, some like being able to laugh at your, let's say, own stupidity, so like it's okay, everybody is stupid on some of the degree, but the idea is not to exceed 5 minutes a day, right?
Right.
And if we are just having some like a healthy approach to the stuff that we experience, no matter if it's chess, no matter if it's work, relationship, and so on, to extract all of the positive information, we can build upon on this. And that's why we need to, as you just mentioned, I really like this, let's say, name, be friend with the mistakes, be friend with the blunders, because they are the components that help us to grow. And
right.
Sometimes if the audience or if the players are something like that, thinker teacher, what are you talking about? Do I need to make a blunder to develop? Do I need to blunder each time the queen to develop? No, you missed the point. What you need to know that if you didn't make any single mistake, you will be either the machine or you will be either, let's say, having the player who doesn't have the idea about playing chess, right? Because, for example, if you are just playing against the player who there is the difference of 1000 rating, right? You can play some like a flawless game, right? If you just make with the engine, oh, there is a 99% of accuracy. Frushi is a genius. No, Frushi just check. Of course, in the meantime, she's a genius, but not at this specific case because she crushed the guy who completely doesn't have any idea about chess. That's it, right? And that's why mistakes and blunders, when they are analyzed and when they are figured out what's going on, they are the necessary components to grow, right? To develop our potential. Do you agree on that?
Yes, totally. Mm-hmm. Indeed. Yes, because these mistakes and generally mistakes, actually, not only in chess, but those are something fear that we don't want to get involved with. But that's actually not a good approach, because you can't improve if you fear these mistakes so much. You cannot improve. You will always make mistakes. Accept the fact. You will always make mistakes, and that's good because you can learn from them. There is no way to avoid those unless you are a machine. But are you?
Yeah, good idea. And probably another idea that may be some kind of inspiration or some like enlightenment for some, maybe the, let's say, comparison between the masters, right? Because you're a chess master and there are a lot of, I would say, amateurs. Amateurs in the sense, not they are noobs, but rather they do not have the titles, right?
Right.
And the difference between you, I mean, these two groups and you as the master is that you make you do not make unforced mistakes, some like mistakes that are super easy. You do the mistakes, but very seldom, and you need to be forced over the very difficult position that is imposed on you to make these mistakes, right?
Mm-hmm, right.
And of course, you can blunder the queen, but if you just look a little bit from statistical standpoint, you're just blundering the queen 1 out of 2000 moves. Right? But the amateurs are blundering the queen 1 out of 20 moves. And this is the difference, right? The frequency of this mistake and the weight of this mistake, right? Weight of this mistake. For example, if you are just having the difficult position, you can lose a pawn. Sometimes maybe a piece if you need to, let's say, stop the attack that is completely crashing, right? But you do not sacrifice the queen just because, oh, the guy started attacking me. I need to sacrifice the queen, right? Completely because, oh, checkmate is coming. How the checkmate is coming? I don't know, but I know because I saw the grandmaster that was checkmated, right? Okay, excellent. And I guess now we can just go into the phenomena that we just mentioned 15 minutes ago about Susan Polgar, because not Susan Polgar, Polgar sisters, because they are prodigies and one of the phenomena that chess world has never seen before. Can you elaborate a little bit about what is going on about Polgar sisters phenomena and how did you maybe figure out or maybe listen about it for the first time, maybe let's say at your countrymen or something like that?
Yeah, so just for the people who are not familiar with it, they were taken out from school basically and learned at home, and they were taught chess from a very young age, actually, very, very young age. That was probably also part of their success. And all of them, well, they from the very young age, they spend these 8, 10, 12 hours that we are talking about on development. And yes, although they have their they are prodigies, we can call them that way, but I believe it's also because from the very beginning it was decided that they are they will play chess and they will take this very seriously. I think it was also part of the father's experiment.
Yeah, it was the experiment designed by the father and mother, who was the pedagogics, and the father was psychologist. They agreed upon these conditions that they would be raising the geniuses, right? In a quotation mark.
Yes. Yes. Right. And well, they succeeded, basically. But well, I personally got it many times that when I was a child. Nowadays, of course, not, because I'm a big girl now. But back then, when I just started, people like these. Like to dramatize, like I said, and like to gossip that, okay, for example, I don't know, I had a good tournament and, oh, yes, Prussia will be the next Judith Polgar, and yes, it's so good. But it's important to know that these people, they don't stand there like this, okay? So, okay, Frushi does this, Frushi learns this way, they do this on the chess tournament, and they play all these games, and that's how they follow, you know, my footsteps and career, and they just throw this in the air that, yes, next Judith Polgar or next Magnus Carlsen, insert name, next insert name, and I think I know these people want to be kind and encourage their students or children that yes, you will be successful, but with so much positivity, the children can believe it, that but then I have nothing to do, right? Because I am the next one, the next chosen one. Yes, and maybe this is also something that happened that with me also, because if success comes early and the acknowledgement comes early, and you are the next something, then that can backfire, because that way the children don't have to put more work into it. They do
not feel the motivation to work harder, right?
Yeah, because they are already someone, right? They already know this, or this is in their future now. So that cannot be taken out from there, because that's what the darts say, right? And I think it can be a huge damage to say such things. That you will be the next this or that, because it can be demotivating, not in a way that most people would think, not like when someone says that you are an idiot and that's how you don't work more, because I'm an idiot, what can we do? But in a way that I'm already someone, I don't have to put more work into it, and I can just I am the next Judith Polgar. What can we do? Yeah, this is my life now. But that's not how it works. And well, of course, same thing with the opposites. That when teachers say that you have zero talent to this, don't do it. They don't know. These people just like to say big words, and I don't think anyone should pay more attention to this than to anything else. You should just focus on your development and improvement, and how to fix your mistakes. Yeah, so this is what I really call this gossip, or not necessarily gossip, because people can tell this say this to your face, but yeah, so they don't know enough, and they also don't care probably enough to follow your path and know these things. They just like to throw big words at you. Did this answer your question?
Yeah, it's very good. Even if we will be a little bit going a little bit deeper into this question, because we have a great, let's say, question from our friend Shuvashis from the chat. And allow me, I'll try to read this because it's a little bit longer. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Our friend Shuvashis says, how it is different than any professional chess players. All professional chess players follow the same path from childhood. For example, Indian kids, they kind of sacrifice school for professional chess. This is different just because they got successful, and specifically women. And now the real question is how the Polgar experiment is different than current kids situation. I mean, especially, I mean, in Indian kids, right? And some of the American kids. I mean, some like the Prodigy that everybody knows about and talks about, right? What do you think about this? Is the Polgar experiment that was done 30 years ago, and nowadays the, I would say, experiment over the, in quotation mark, over the Indian kids and some of the prodigies from America, the same one or not the same? And what are the differences from your standpoint?
I'm not sure how much, how similar their training is to what the Polgar sisters went through, and therefore it is a bit hard to answer because I think it has something to do also probably with talent. What we talked about before, that some players might be a little bit slower or much slower in learning, and therefore they won't succeed that much. You can't just pick all the talented ones just by face. You know, you have to train more to figure this out. And I think there are prodigies out there. Let's just say this. I forgot his name. This Indian 16 years old kid who succeeded at the Olympiad. I forgot his Gukesh. Yes, Gukesh. And then there is Ali Reza. So there are these geniuses out there. So we cannot say that they are not. But probably also it probably also has something to do with the personality as well, because you know, you have to sort of enjoy this a little bit to do this 8 and even more hours a day. I personally wouldn't be able to do that. Even if you forced me, I would be like, oh, please no, as a little child, because for me there are so many other things out there. There might be other students who think the same way, and they are also distracted by, or not necessarily distracted because that's so sort of a negative word, but they also want to do other things in their life, and also so yeah, there are so many things that affect it. Also, it probably has something to do with the effectiveness of their education.
Methods of work, the databases, computers, coaches, and so on. All of the resources, probably, right?
Yes, right. And you also have to want it, and it's you know, so many things have to cross or in one person. It's not so easy to find such a person, but there are, because there is Gukesh, for example, and there is Ali Reza now, a youth, new generation. It's there, but it's also, I believe their education, the Polgar sisters' education, was also a bit maybe too harsh on them, on their childhood.
I mean, especially back then, right? Because if we are just comparing the times nowadays, if Indian kids are training chess for 8 to 10 hours a day, nobody is like, no, you are making harm for this case. No one is doing this, right? And then back then, 30 years ago, it was something like that. Oh my goodness, these kids doesn't have the childhood, right?
Yes.
Maybe this is the perception, right? Perception switch.
Yes, also that, but I mean, it's still a tough path, let's just say. So I'm not sure nowadays many parents would agree to this, and yeah, so that was really mentally tough. And there is one question in chat from Dan, if the Polgar sisters enjoyed their youth. I don't know. They say what I see and what I heard from them. They say that they have no regrets.
Yes, I heard the same in the interviews. I want to confirm.
Yes. Also, we will probably never know the real truth behind this. Maybe yes, maybe not. If they say so, okay. But as a psychologist, I have a few doubts.
Theories?
And fears, yes. Yes. So, yeah, that's what I would say. Final thought, yes, what I said, that it's really hard to find that person who has all the psychological, emotional, physical, plus talent crossed in them, that they will do this from a very young, and they are really interested, and they will do everything. And they don't want to, for example, go out and play with other kids or learn something else instead. Yes, so this is my final thought on it. So yeah, we also have our geniuses, or I don't really like this genius word, but these prodigies maybe, or very talented youngsters, and just they are rare, of course.
Yeah, I fully agree. And if I can add a little bit, I guess that this Polgar experiment is a little bit tricky, if I can say that, because if it would be replicated without any preparation, without any reflection, and without any, let's say, testing the, resources, I'll just explain in a moment, it may be very harmful. There is no doubt about it from my standpoint. But if this experiment, I just call it experiment in quotation mark, is pretty much planned, prepared, and there are the predispositions. The predispositions, we can say talent, but I rather stay away from talent because sometimes it's a little bit triggering, tough emotions, right? Therefore, rather predispositions. If there are predispositions, if there is a preparation, if there are conscious parents, this experiment in the quotation mark can be successful. And what's more, it may be one of the best idea to raise the kids, to make them successful and make them understand that hard work pays off, that building habits from the young, from the childhood is pretty much very beneficial in adult life. And in the meantime, they can see how much they can grow at specific domain. Because what's more is needed to add about your expression is that Laszlo Polgar, not previously, originally he wanted to have their daughter, I mean the first one, to excel in mathematics. Right, but back then it was some like the accident that the chessboard was let's say was found by one of the sisters below the wardrobe, right? And then after the chessboard, what is that? The father was at work, mother was at home, and mother said for the daughter that when father came from work, he's going to explain what's going on. And after some, let's say another work, Laszlo Polgar, the Papa Polgar guy, just decided that not mathematics, but chess. We'll be raising the geniuses on chess, not mathematics. What about that?
If I am right, they were asked, and all of the girls picked chess, because I think he asked them what do they prefer, chess or maths, and they all picked chess. And I like this choice, although it's not so broad. I mean, you can't really pick from other art or another sport maybe.
It is
And
not a wide selection, right? Wide selection.
yes, yes, right. Which I personally, if I will have children in the future and I ever think about doing this, I won't personally, because I don't think it's useful. I mean, of course they will. I mean, it is useful in a sense that now they are all worldwide famous and they are expert at chess, and they are legends basically, and that's great. But I personally think that there is more to the world than only chess, and therefore I wouldn't like to use this drastical methods to make them learn one subject. And same thing, I know it's not only chess, but same thing about maths, same thing about, let's say, biology, what I like, or literature, or one language, or whatever it is. I have this view personally, that I don't think it is child friendly, this approach that they did.
Yes, I agree. But as I just mentioned, it needs to be the agreement between the parents. The parents needs to be conscious one,
Right.
and the kids, because one of the argument, or maybe counter argument to your expression, is that if the kids will not have, I mean the kids, especially the Polgar one, right, will not have. Wouldn't have the predispositions, they wouldn't be able to work that hard for such a long period. For example, after 2 years of working over chess for 8 hours a day, they would be completely burnout, right? They would not withstand this amount of work, and they would be going either to the mental health institute, or maybe different type of, let's say, doctors to heal with this trauma. But if they withstand this, probably they had these predispositions. Of course, this is some kind of regime, right? But we will need to take notice that if we want to excel at something, and something what we want to excel is something challenging, we must devote ourselves, right? For example, if I just invested into chess in a, let's say, professional way, just 1,000 hours, and the rest 9,000 hours, I was just having fun, trying out everything what I wanted, not everything what I needed to do, I am not a chess master, right? And you, with the comparison, you invested, let's say, 5,000 hours. It doesn't matter what is your talent, right? For example, but you invested 5,000 hours of structured work over the, let's say, over the monitoring of the coach. And in the meantime, you had a lot of the encouraged by your parents, and you started young. Then you can explode it, right? You can get into the higher level. But for example, for the adult chess improver, because there are some adult chess improver as well, when they start chess, for example, after the lockdown, after the Queen's Gambit, all of this, let's say, stuff that make the chess explode, if they start playing chess at the age of 40, and if they start, let's say, at the level of 1,000 lichess, after 3 months or 5 months of hard learning, they are just 1,300, and they ask me if they can be grandmasters. I say no way. Why? Because you are, it is not related to your age, it is some like a coincidence. You are already 25 years old. Yes, Frushi, you have the best of your behind you. Of course, it's not drastically, but you'll be seeing that this is a little bit of dropout. You're over 25. I mean, it is the research based on Andrew Huberman, the guy from America, this neuropsychologist. It's not just mine. I'm just quoting, right? You're above 25. You may not have the predispositions. Predispositions can be measured with some point about the tests, right? IQ tests, Gallup tests, right? Some kind of batteries of tests that we may know that they can be, let's say, helpful to see how much potential we have. And if you do not have the perseverance, it is so-called a grit by Angela Duckworth, right? By the one of the psychologists that is pretty much influential as well. And if you do not have the grit, and this is so-called predispositions with the specific conditions, this is so-called talent. If you do not have this basic talent, you will not be able to get that far. I mean, for example, FIDE master, international master on top 10 in the world. And that's why it is needed to, let's say, be aware of the, let's say, research, I mean, specific, the science one, and in the meantime, see what other specialists, I mean, especially the experts, have to say about the specific domain. For example, Anders Ericsson, he was the guy, the father of the deliberate practice, right? If you do not make the deliberate practice, even if you will be practicing chess for 50,000 years, you will never get to Grandmaster, right? Because it's not a deliberate practice, right? And deliberate practice is something like getting better each day, not something like having everything what you want to do, instead of having the, let's say, coach, having the conditions, having the specific feedback, and so on.
Right.
What about that?
Right. Right. Indeed. I agree. There are some other how I would say that. So counter example maybe, because I see, I heard about a few grandmasters who made it to grandmaster level when they were adults. For example, there are these statistics, but yeah, that might not be common, like you say, and of course I agree with you. There are so many things that are needed and have to be there, and
something like a specific configuration of elements, right?
Right. Yes. Yes. And just the reason I don't like to, I mean, don't like to discourage with this information my students, because we never know what the case must be. And of course, I don't encourage them to be grandmasters, because yeah, of course, there can be this this problem. But if you, for example, start something and we know that it will fail for sure, a mission, then for sure it will fail, right? But if they don't put that work into chess because I will fail anyways, then yeah, that won't leave anywhere either, in my opinion. But of course, let's be realistic and let's stay on Earth. Also, that yeah, it's unlikely that they will rise and become grandmasters if you don't start at a very specific age, and I mean very young age. What I wanted to say, then it is yeah, unlikely that
maybe even there is some correlation. The later you start, the less likely to get into the very high level. I mean, high level of title players. For example, if you started, because I'm just making a little bit of harsh argument, just to show the idea, not just to reject your, show the idea. If you started at the age of 70, the likelihood that you will be living up to 80 is not that common, right? You will die first, right? And if, let's say, in a theoretical model, getting into the Grandmaster is 10 years work, and if you die at the age of 78, you will not be able to live that long to get into Grandmaster status. Of course, it's a little bit ridiculous, I know, but it shows that there are some, let's say, objective factors that may stop you from reaching very high level, right?
Right, and but also once you are, probably one of the reasons that this happens also. But I mean, if you start, let's say, 30 years old, then also that will decrease your chances. And of course, I like the way you said it, that the later you start, the less chances you have, because yeah, it's there, of course, but again. It's more difficult because you already have your beliefs, you already have your life, your own life, and it's unlikely that you will quit.
Obligations, family, work, right?
Yes, it's unlikely that you will quit all this just to start playing chess and assume that you are the most talented person on earth and work, because you know, that's the other element. I can sacrifice my life for chess completely and spend so much time. But for example, if I'm really if there are a few things I really don't understand in chess and it's hard to understand those, then yeah, maybe I sacrifice my life for nothing. There is this problem. For example, this was one of the problems, my issues, why I didn't pick professional chess in a sense that, yes, now I will really want to be first board in the Hungarian team at the Olympiad, is because my question is, what for? Because
what are the benefits over this dedication, right?
Yes. If I'm going to make such a sacrifice, then what do I get in exchange? And
in return.
Yes, in return. Yes, it's there that maybe I will be the next legend. Yes, maybe it's there, but it's a very small chance, and the fail element is always there, which might or might not be in my control, if that makes sense. So so as a dad, maybe it's that's why it's harder, because you already have a lot of knowledge about the bird and how things should be, and probably that's why, like Dan said it in my chat, and I think an hour ago, that it's really hard to change these beliefs and beliefs. So even when it would be maybe needed to change it and learn more, or learn differently, or do something differently, like you would say, then there will be that resistance that you also encounter and I also encounter when we teach.
And one idea, the older you get, the more resistance you have. For example, you do not want to do what you wanted to do when you were young, because there are different, let's say, values, different parts of life, and so on. Okay, thank you very much. And now, because we'll be wrapping up in a moment, because we are just having all of the questions answered. Of course, there are some of the chat as well, but I will just answer them after we'll just wrap up. If you would like to make a summary of our meeting and our, let's say, discussion, what would you say as a, let's say, summary of all of this? I mean, especially what is beneficial for you. For example, what you realized, what you maybe expanded on this discussion, and so on. It's up to you, of course.
What I know, and you helped me, this last conversation, what we had, that I tend to be a little bit too optimistic and too positive minded, if that makes sense. But it's important to stay on earth and be realistic, but also the other element, almost the opposite, but I don't want to call it opposite, that in chess, once you are in the game, or in a game, that it's important to not take everything as a life-changing experience. This loss defines my life now. This is who I am, this loss, or something. It's something I'm telling you, and I can talk about it, but it's something I also need to learn sometimes, and it's good to have this reminder from someone else other than me, because then it shows that I'm on the right path, maybe on this one. And well, I believe we agreed on most things, but it was really good, and as a thought starter, like we would say it in Hungarian, that I can still process after our conversation is over. And maybe it's too early to say what affected me. I still need to think about this conversation, maybe rewatch it, and
Yeah, I guess it was pretty intense to be honest.
Yes.
Even if I'll try to manage all of this stuff, trying to listen to you and trying to analyze all of your expressions. In the meantime, I'll try to have a look at chat and think of the flow of the interview and flow of the
Yes.
discussion. Believe me that I am pretty much exhausted. I am exhausted. Of course, I'm happy. I'm happy because I love such conversations, and I'm super grateful that you would like to, let's say, devote the time for us to make this conversation great. But take notice that it takes a lot of energy. Probably it is very similar for the chess. If you are playing very, very difficult game and you do your absolute best, right? And you are just, let's say, devoting 5 hours of your, let's say, emotions, mental energy, and so on. Then after the game, you are some like, oh, now it's over. I am enlightened. And one of the experience that I would like to share is the experience that I will never forget. It is based on chess and related to over the board game. Probably it was 18 or 20 years ago, quite a long time ago, but I remember it vividly. I played the game at one of the open tournaments. And I was one of the groups, one of the lower groups actually. And normal the games, practically speaking, lasted for about 3.5 and 4 hours. After 4 hours, 95% of games were finished. But there was the exception. I was playing against one of the guys of local guys, and we were playing a very, very long game, very, very tense one, but very long one. And it was the stuff that nobody was presented over the hall. The hall was pretty big one, something like a gymnastic hall, something like a very big one. And we were just playing both. And it was that funny stuff that we started about 3:30, and the game lasted up to 7:30, and the sky was that much cloudy that it started to be dark, and I couldn't see the pieces, let's say, correctly. And I asked the arbiter, because he needed to be close to us, asked the arbiter to light up the lights, because these were the lights over the big, let's say, big gymnastic hall. And he mentions like that. It was such a humorous that if it wasn't, let's say, if it wasn't filmed, you wouldn't believe it, right? He said something like that. Mr. Tom, I know your request, I understand your request, but I need to reject it. Why? Because both of you have just 10 minutes and the lights to pop up will last for 15 minutes. And it was completely, let's say, he just simply crashed the system, right? He crashed the system. And I was something like that. Okay, thank you very much. But what is another idea? I played the game against this guy. As I just mentioned, the lights didn't need to pop up because we're, let's say, too long to, let's say, to light on. And we were playing the game. It was 5 hours. I mean, the struggle, 5 hours without 5 minutes. After the game, I literally had problems to stay straight. I was close to faint out. I'm not kidding. I was close to faint out. Somebody asked me about the score, and I answered, I do not know the score. I know I finished the game. I was exhausted. I was completely exhausted. And it was just once in my life. And take notice, it is just one game. Right? And if you need to play such a games, one game a day for nine times in a row, right? Something like in tournament. And what's more, in America, they play 2 games a day, right? Something like 4 to 5 hours, 2 games a day. I couldn't manage this. And that's why if you want to become a title player, you need to devote a lot of energy, a lot of dedication, a lot of heart, a lot of willpower, right? And if you do not have so basic predispositions that you will be developing them into the so-called talent. Of course, by the way, one important remark, talent is just the ability to work hard over the persevered period of time. Nobody mentions that clearly. I mean, so like in a very, very, let's say, solid way, that the talent is the ability to work hard over the extended period of time. For example, Ali Reza, right? As we just mentioned, oh, Ali Reza is great. Yes, he's great. But who of you will be able to work day by day of 10 hours a day? Not just playing, right? Because it's not playing. Playing is one of the ideas, but it's some like hard work day by day. I just make the experiment on myself. It was some like 8 or 10 years ago. I tried to see how far I can get. And I did this experiment. I work on chess for 12 hours a day for 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday. After this experiment, working for 12 hours a day, after next 5 months, I didn't touch chess. I'm not kidding. It was the stuff that I was doing on myself, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And that's why having the ability to work hard over the extended period of time is the talent. If you do not have this talent, you will not be able to get into top 10 because other guys will overwork you, right?
Right. Yes. I agree, and I can totally relate to this chess sickness after working so much because sometimes. I have a few viewers coming. Do you want to get better? Do you want to be a woman grandmaster? Maybe. And yeah, I mean, it would be fun if it just fall from the sky. Yes, but
we'll manage this.
Yes. But I know that getting to woman with a master. But I consider myself sadly a lazy person. This is something I have to work on, I know. And getting here, that was also much work. I didn't study 8-10 hours a day to get here. I didn't, of course. I studied less, but knowing that I stream chess, let's say 2-3 hours, and then I teach chess because I have to make a living. I won't just be able to feed myself on chess pieces. So yes, it's important to work something, and then I dedicate my last remaining free time of the day to study chess. No.
It would be too much, right?
Yes.
It would be too much.
Yes, it would be too much. As I said, there are just so many other things. I'm interested in so many other things. I love chess. I love it. It's my life. But I'm interested in so many other things in life that I would like to experience, traveling, meeting new people. But if I have to sit at home doing chess only, yeah, that's hard. You have to really be dedicated that you want to be a grandmaster or if you want to be in the top. So yes, it's also mental toughness and stamina that you have to be good at or learn.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree. Okay, I guess we just explored a lot of the topics. I guess I tried to extend a little bit over your expressions as well because I wanted to make it a little bit, let's say, more educational for our audience. I really appreciate your time investment and your energy because it was not easy, and that's why I am that much happy because with all of the respect, if you didn't have that much knowledge, if you didn't have that much experience, this meeting would not be that great because probably it would be just one person. The other person would be something like that. Okay, but I do not know what's going on, right? I heard something, but I cannot continue. And now we are just, let's say, making the stuff that I try to, let's say, extend a little bit of your expressions. And in the meantime, steer into the topics that will be, let's say, good enough to discuss. And how about this experience? Did you like it? Did you enjoy it? How would you summarize about your experience? I mean, how did you feel during this meeting?
I enjoyed it and I love talking about this, and I think it was useful for me, for you, and for chat, for everyone. Although I also started to feel my limits because it was an intense conversation, let's be honest, and it was hard sometimes to keep track with what you are saying, because I was at one thought, and not because I was thinking about what I will eat for dinner. It was because what we talked about a little bit earlier, and I was still there. And then you mentioned another thing that
it was parallel analysis, but few engines in back your mind.
Yes, the engine capacity wasn't enough. Wasn't doing a good work.
Sometimes the engine could have been overloaded.
Yes, yes, that's how I would put it. Yes, and that's why that's also the reason why I said I will still need to process the information, because you asked me what I will take with myself, but probably it would be everything. You know, I still need to go through this and think again about this great conversation. And the engine is a little bit slow, especially at this hour. So
Yeah, got it. Okay, I guess it was great. I am super happy about it, because as I just mentioned, I was just praying that finally I want to have the specialist, because you are a specialist, an expert at chess, an expert in psychology, and very much experienced person. And it is a let's say golden combination. I'm not kidding. I'm really serious. Golden combination, and I was dreaming about it, because I need to let you know about it, that I could have the person who is good at chess but doesn't have the ability to talk about psychology and doesn't have too much experience. I could have the player who is a pretty experienced, have a lot of power of strength of level, but cannot express the idea clearly enough, right? Or doesn't know about psychology except of coping the stress. And you have everything, and that's why I'm that much happy. And that's why I am super happy that we could do it. And I really, really appreciated that you just accepted the invitation and devoted the time for addressing all of these topics. And I guess it was pretty much very, very beneficial for our audience as well. In the meantime, I posted, let's say, dozens of times about your channel. Therefore, if anybody wants to see more and listen about such stuff, please check out our friend Szefru, our friend Frushina, Szefru, you have a lot of this, but I remember all of them, and I checked, I posted the link to your channel as well. Therefore, everybody who is, let's say, ready to listen about such conversations, because from time to time you do such, I am super happy about it, because I listened recently. I strongly encourage to follow you.
Thank you very much. And thank you so much for the opportunity and asking me. You say all these nice things about me, how I'm an expert in psychology and chess, and I have the experience. I do not feel like it. Always.
You have it. And by the way, it's Dorkson. I'm not sure. Dunninger-Kruger effect. The higher you are, the more doubts you have. I'm not kidding. It's a real effect.
Yes.
The higher you get, that you can see, oh my goodness, I just know the basics of chess. Are you the master? Yes, but I know just the basics.
Yes, yes, that's also true. Indeed. But it's still, a constant feeling. Anyways, thank you so much, and it was great, because you have so much experience in teaching us, and you follow the career of so many students, and well, yourself, you are a very good player as well, and I enjoyed it because you put more experience behind it, more knowledge, so I can also learn from this, and I definitely enjoyed it. So guys, also I would like you to follow Tom.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I'm glad that you enjoyed it, because I knew that it is going to be intense. I knew that it's going to be a little bit confusing sometimes, but I knew that everybody would be pleased, even if a little bit exhausted. But this is the point, right? This is the same at chess. If you are exhausted, if we do our best, and we just, let's say, make the best performance over the board, it doesn't matter the score. It matters the experience and the reflection that is over us, as you just mentioned, that you will be processing, right?
Right, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much one more time, my friend. I really, really appreciate it. It was an honor to be with you with this conversation, and I'm super happy that we could do it. Thank you very much. And now you can just make this processing into the slower mode, and you can just rest a bit as well. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.